So what we're interested in learning about is how to come up with a set of relevant questions that can be answered using social media or blogs or, organizing them into even a book would be interesting. So I'm going to show you how to get down to find out what questions are being asked, and then we're going to talk about this, how the level of sophistication of those questions makes them the best thing for us to answer. I mean, the short answer to that idea is that if a question is sophisticated, it's being asked by someone who's already done a fair bit of research, which means that they're not necessarily deep in research mode and they're a lot closer to becoming a buyer. So we want to get in front of that kind of a prospect. So we're going to look into CRM as an example. CRM is let me just get the definition first here. What CRM means? It stands for Customer Relationship Management. One of the customers that we do some work for sells a sophisticated CRM, and so we want to figure out what the sophisticated questions are about CRMs. What CRM means is not necessarily a sophisticated question, but I'm going to put it in there as a starting point there. So I'm just going to save that. What is a CRM system example? This is a little bit more sophisticated. Let's just hold on to that. What is the example of a CRM? So these are some things. Now, a person asking this question has heard of a CRM. Maybe he's asked this question, and now he wants some examples to see if he can get his head around what one is. But let's say advantages of a CRM is a little bit more sophisticated. But let's turn it into a question. What are the advantages of a CRM? So here's the interesting thing about that. So we've got this question. Let's imagine that this is one that we want to hold on to. If you come up with a question, it's a good idea to tuck it away here. And then I scroll down and it says, people also ask, what are the disadvantages? That's interesting. Actually, I would be interested in knowing what that is.
It's 10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock. What is a CRM? Why is it important? So this is not a sophisticated question, but it is maybe a question that you'd still want to get some traction on. But I don't think a person asking that question is necessarily close to buying. But that's, we might tuck that away for an earlier discussion, someone who's in research mode. We're trying to focus primarily on sophisticated questions. What are the objectives of a CRM? That's much better. So let's say to kind of identify something as sophisticated, kind of think about what they must already know in order to ask that particular question. What is a CRM process? That's complicated. What does CRM stand for? What is CRM examples? 3 benefits. How is CRM useful for a company? See, now they know what a CRM is, but they're trying to figure out the utility of it. See, so what do they have to know? That's the question. What are the features of a CRM? Well, again, these are questions about utility. And capability. What is the CRM life cycle? Now that is a complex, high-level question. What is the main components of a CRM system? I would say that's probably that's a comparison, maybe a pre-comparison question. I say it's a pre-comparison because they're trying to understand the parts so that they have a basically a framework that they can use to compare some of the alternatives. We could say so any comparison sophistication, yeah, so at the beginning we want to know what is the CRM? It's an existential question. We want to know what it is and understand why it exists broadly. Then we move to utility and capability. Why is it useful? What are the features? What are the main components? And then we get into a more sophisticated analysis because ideally we will have established that it is a useful thing for companies and maybe it's useful for me, right? So sophistication takes us to a kind of a comparison mode that's more sophisticated. So let's go back here. Let's maybe say, what is a CRM life cycle? And see what other stuff comes up. People also ask, what are the 5 stages of a customer life cycle? That's a great sales question. Since a CRM is a sales tool, you know, use and practice. Use and best practices. That's kind of what we're talking about here. What is the relationship life cycle or the life cycle? Formula for calculating CLV. I don't even know what that is. Oh, okay. So this is about the lifetime value of a customer. Makes sense. The term that we use. And what is a good lifetime value? So there's another term. So once you've established utility, you know, how do sales, you know, the answers we get from here will help us to create better questions to end up in the sophisticated comparison mode questions column. How do you measure customer value? How do you measure customer value? That's very interesting. Could we use a CRM? You know, how do you use a CRM to measure customer value? And this is how we continue. So this is the process, and I'm going to share when I provide this as a task to you. I'll have you kind of create a graduated table that that lets you put all the questions you find in, but grade them based on the level of sophistication that you can see, and you can kind of order them based on, you know, is it an existence question or a definition? So existence, definition, it's important, but a person asking those questions is not necessarily not necessarily a buyer, but that leads into the somewhat, so the utility and capability side. So that's pre-comparison. That's more sophisticated. And then the most sophisticated are about use and best practices, comparing features in action, that kind of thing. Now that we understand use, utility, capability, let's say advantage, and this is like of using any CRM. What is the advantage? What capabilities does it provide you? What is the utility of a CRM in this case? So I will let you continue filling this in if you're the first person seeing this video. If you've been assigned a question research task, you basically will come up with an existence question at the beginning and use that to flesh out all the other columns. And I'll be interested to see what you come up with. Have a great day.